Good morning. It's Kara today. Sorry, rolled out of bed a little late. And I'm finally getting my voice back, so I gotta read today. So page 52. And we're gonna start with the $10 million, the $10 million question. Alrighty. Here's the most amazing thing about Steve Martin's story. The things he did to develop his stage skills were not complicated or difficult. They just took practice. They also weren't very exciting. The idea of being up on stage in front of millions may sound terrifying and exhilarating, but when you're standing up in front of a nearly empty coffee shop and nobody's paying any attention, and you're trying out a line you've tried 30 times already with maybe a few tiny tweaks to see if it works any better, not so terrifying, not so exhilarating, not so exciting. In fact, the things Steve had to do to refine his craft were often downright mundane. And the same things hold true for success in any dimension, from health to relationships to career success to financial success. Remember the millionaire next door? The big secret that Stanley and Danko revealed was that the millionaires they studied had developed the habit of doing ordinary, little, insignificant, everyday things with their money. It would make an exciting story if they had gambled their last dollars and amazingly hit it big in the stock market with a little stock that came from behind and stunned the financial world. But nope, it wasn't like that. The first of the book's seven rules is always live below your means. Nothing too exciting about that, is there? Downright mundane. And the rest is like that too. Nothing these ordinary millionaires did to build their riches were complicated, difficult to understand, or hard to do. None of them took sophisticated knowledge or special skills. What these millionaires did was simple. They mastered the mundane. As I said above, if you apply the slight edge consistently in your life, you will find yourself among the 5% and see the goals and aspiration in your life coming to pass. And you will achieve those aims, goals, and dreams by doing mundane, everyday, simple things. That sounds outrageously oversimplified. I know. But it's the truth. I've seen it happen again and again. If you learn to understand and apply the slight edge, your life will become filled with hundreds of thousands of small, seemingly insignificant actions, all of them genuinely simple, none of them mysterious or complex. In other words, you have to master the mundane, and those actions will create your success. And here's the truly amazing thing about it. Those simple things, the things that spell success, they are not only simple, they're also so easy to do, so simple and so easy. In fact, anyone could do them. So by now, you've probably got a question burning in your brain. If these things are so simple and so easy to do, how come only 5% do them? Why don't more people do them? In fact, why doesn't everyone do them? The world of finances is one of the easiest places to see the power of the slight edge in action. Everyone knows about the power of compound interest, right? Wrong. Everyone thinks they know about the power of compound interest, but most people don't, not really. If they did, they'd be using it, and clearly, most people are not. There's a principle called Parkinson's law, after the man who coined it, Professor Cyril Northcote Parkinson. Parkinson's law goes like this. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Here's how that looks when you apply it to the world of personal finances. Whatever I have, I spend. Actually, in today's world, it usually means something more like this. Whatever I have, I spend that, plus a little more. How hard is it to put aside a few dollars a day or a little each week? Ridiculously easy. Yet most of us just don't do it. The United States has one of the highest per capita income rates in the world and one of the lowest savings rates. Why is that? Or take food and health as an example. Eating offers one of the best everyday examples of the slight edge there is, simply because eating is something we all do every day throughout our lives. And there is no big mystery to what healthy eating looks like. Yet overweight and obesity continues to be a huge and growing problem in the United States. 2 in every 3 Americans is overweight, and almost 1 in 3 qualifies for the definition of obese. In the past 30 years, obesity in kids has tripled. This isn't news. Americans know they're overweight. In fact, we spend huge amounts of money on diet books and diet programs to help us lose that burdensome extra weight. There are more than 30,000 fitness clubs in the United States, all aimed at serving the national desire to lose weight and be fit. And it's not just a question of being a little too heavy or how we look. Nutrition is one of the most significant factors in society's major killers like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Most of us are literally digging our graves with our teeth, and we know this. Yet clearly the majority of us aren't doing anything about it. Why not? If slight edge habits are so easy to do and will lead to phenomenal success, why doesn't everyone do them? That is literally the $10 million question, and it has a few answers. Reason number one, they're easy to do. The first answer is one I learned from Jim Rohn. The simple things that lead to success are always easy to do, but they're also just as easy not to do. It's easy to save a few bucks a day and easy not to. It's easy to do 15 minutes of cardio a day, walk a brisk mile or two, truly easy to do, or not. It may not be easy to get into graduate school and pour yourself into PhD studies for 80 hours a week for a few years straight, but here's something that is easy. Picking up an inspiring, educational, life-changing book like The Millionaire Next Door, or Think and Grow Rich, or The Magic of Thinking Big, and read 10 pages a day. Just 10 pages, so easy to do, and so easy not to do. Remembering to tell your wife or husband that you love them and do that every day. What could be easier than that? To do or not to do. So while anyone could do these successful actions, most won't, simply because it's so easy to skip them. And the tragic irony of it is that doesn't actually end up making their lives any easier. We're all doing simple things anyway. Unsuccessful people just choose what they think is the path of least resistance, but it really isn't. Fundamentally, we all take pretty much the same actions every day. We eat, sleep, think, feel, talk, and listen. We have relationships and friendships. We each have 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week, and we each fill these hours one way or the other with a sequence of mundane little actions and tasks. Gold medal marathon runners eat and sleep. So do people who are 30 pounds overweight. Successful entrepreneurs think and feel and have relationships with other people. So do those who are broke or living on the streets. People who make lots of money read books. People who are broke read books too. They just choose different books. The successful and unsuccessful both do the same basic things in their lives, day in and day out. Yet the things successful people do to take them to the top, while the things unsuccessful people do take them down and out. So what's the difference? The difference is their awareness, understanding, and application of the slight edge in their life and work. Successful winners understand the power of the slight edge. Unsuccessful people do not. The difference that will make all the difference between success and failure, between achieving the quality of life you want and settling for less than you desire and deserve, lies not in whether you take those actions or not, because we all do, but 100% in which of those mundane actions you choose to do. This is why we are all capable of doing what it takes to be successful. We are all capable of being winners in life. And yes, that includes you, because the slight edge is always working. Whether for you or against you, the slight edge is already at work in your life and always will be, every day, every moment. The purpose of this book is to help you become aware of it, how it is working in your life every day, every hour, every moment, and every step you take and every choice you make. Everything you need to do to transform your life is easy to do. It's easy to become healthy, fit, and vibrant. It's easy to become financially independent. It's easy to have a happy family and a life rich with meaningful friendships. It's just a matter of mastering the mundane, of repeating simple little disciplines that done consistently over time will add up to the very biggest accomplishments. Of course, it's just as easy not to, but that simple, seemingly insignificant error in judgment compounded over time will ruin your chances for success. You can count on it. That's the choice you face every day, every hour. A simple positive action repeated over time. A simple error in judgment repeated over time. So easy to do, so easy not to do. Reason number two, the results are invisible. The second reason people don't do the little things that add up to success is that at first, they don't add up to success. The doomed frog quit paddling in the cream because he'd been doing it as hard as he could, and it obviously wasn't having any effect, at least not one he could see. And that's the problem. The things that create success in the long run don't look like they're having any impact at all in the short run. A penny doubled in 2 cents, big deal. Take $2 a day and stick it into savings instead of into an expensive coffee drink. And at the end of the week, you've got $14, big deal. Of course, that was exactly how my mother became a millionaire, but most people wouldn't do that because you don't see the million in front of you when you do the saving. The results are too far in the future. They're invisible. That is, unless you know how to look through the lenses of the slight edge. Do you know anyone who would eat a quarter of Crisco or a pound of butter a day? Does anyone say, my cholesterol is down to 239. I need to get it up over 400. There are still a few arteries flowing. Better make sure I get those clogged too. Of course not. Then why do we act like we do? You know what you're supposed to eat. We all do. Fresh fruits and vegetables, complex carbs, salads, whole grains, lean meats, more fish and poultry, and less beef. You know it. I know it. We all know it. So why do so many of us still go out and chow down cheeseburgers and fries every day? I'll tell you why, because it won't kill us. Not today. If you ate a cheeseburger and immediately suffered a near fatal heart attack, would you ever go near a cheeseburger again? I doubt it. It may take 20 or 30 years, but when you add up the compounded interest and all that high-fat, artery-clogging dietary mayhem, eventually your poor, overworked heart just quits, stops dead, and so do you. It's easy to eat well, but it's also easy not to, and to go on eating the food that will eventually kill us because it won't kill us today. It's not the one junk food meal, it's the thousands over time. Eating the burger is just a simple error in judgment. Not eating it, a simple positive action. The thing is, eating it won't kill you today. Compounded over time, it can and will, but not at first. And not eating it won't transform your health and save your life, at least not today. Compounded over time, it can and will, but that's an event that's tucked in invisibly over the horizon of the future, so we don't see it. Why do you walk past the exercise bike? Because it's easy. If you don't exercise today, will that kill you? No, of course not. You know what you need to do to stay healthy and feel fit and live a long life. Get your heart rate up a little over normal for 20 minutes, 3 times a week. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it, and it's easy to do. But it's also easy not to do. And if you don't do it today or tomorrow or the next day, you won't suddenly drop dead, and you won't suddenly put on 20 pounds, and you won't suddenly lose all your muscle tone. That simple error in judgment, compounded over time, will ruin your health, but not immediately. It is the same that your health, your diet, your exercise, your financial habits, your knowledge, your relationships, your marriage, your spiritual health, with anything and everything. Here's a slight edge action guaranteed to change your life. Read just 10 pages of a good book, a book aimed at improving your life every day. If you read 10 pages of a good book today, will your life change? Of course not. If you don't read 10 pages of a good book today, will your life fall apart? Obviously not. I can tell you that if you would agree to read 10 pages of one of these good books every single day over time, you could not help but accumulate all the knowledge you ever need to be as successful as you could ever want to be. Like a penny over time, reading 10 pages a day would compound just like that and create inside you a $10 million bank of knowledge. If you kept this up for a year, you would have read 3,650 pages, the equivalent of 1 or 2 dozen books of life transforming material. Would your life have changed? Absolutely, no question. But here's the problem. Back here in the present, on day 1 of week 1, all of that is way in the future. When you make the right choice, you don't see the results, at least not today. And that is a problem in our push button, mouse click, 24-hour news world. We expect to see results and we expect to see them now. But that's not how success is built. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Progressive means success is a process, not a destination. It's something you experience gradually over time. Failure is just as gradual. In fact, the difference between success and failure is so subtle, you can't even see it or recognize it during the process. And here's how real success is built. By the time you get the feedback, the real work's already done. When you get to the point where everyone else can see your results, tell you what good choices you've made, notice your good fortune, slap you on the back and tell you how lucky you are, the critical slight edge choices you've made are ancient history. And chances are, at the time you actually made those choices, nobody noticed you. And even you wouldn't have noticed unless you understood the power of the slight edge. Let's read one more section. Okay, reason number 3. They seem insignificant. The third reason most people live out their entire lives without ever grasping how the slight edge is working in their lives is that it just seems like those little things don't really matter. So I skipped a day at the gym. What's a day? Hey, it's just a cheeseburger. What's the fuss? The difference between success and failure is not dramatic. In fact, the difference between success and failure is so subtle, so mundane, that most people miss it. They may not realize They have a philosophy, but they do, and it goes like this. What I do right now doesn't really matter. It's not hard to see how people come to this understanding of life. I don't blame them. It's completely understandable. It's just not the truth. The truth is what you do matters. What you do today matters. What you do every day matters. Successful people are those who understand that the little choices they make matter. And because of that, they choose to do things that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them. And they do them over and over until the compound effect kicks in. Those little things that will make you successful in life, that will secure your health, your happiness, your fulfillment, your dreams, are simple, subtle, mundane things that nobody will see, nobody will applaud, nobody will even notice. They are those things that at the time you do them often feel like they make absolutely no difference. Things that are ridiculously easy to do, but just as easy not to do. Things that don't seem to bring you any visible results at first. Things that seem so insignificant they couldn't possibly matter, but they do. Things that, when you look at them as a single occurrence, don't seem like they'd have any impact at all. Yet when compounded over time, they add up to outrageous success. I'll give you an example of my own experience, a triumph of the mundane. I told you a little about the People's Network, that personal development company I started many years ago. Let me tell you the next chapter of that story. We eventually ended up merging that company, including its entire sales force, into another, larger company that had been around for more than a quarter of a century. This merger offered a fascinating situation of two very different cultures colliding. First of all, the product line was completely different: legal services versus personal development materials and training. Even more significant than that, though, was the difference in cultures between the two groups. The sales force was the company we merged into, was a very large group who were quite established, successful, and very good at what they did, number one in their space. Were pretty well set in their ways. The old guard, you could say. Many of these folks had been there with the company 10, 15, 20 years or more, and they represented about 80% of the newly merged company. The other 20% were us, the newcomers. The culture in our group was completely different. Not only were our people not established and successful with this type of product, they had basically no experience in it at all. But we did have one thing the old guard didn't have. We had the slight edge philosophy. We quickly developed something we called the 10 core commitments, which was a list of basic actions people could take to move their business forward. Little things that were easy to do and just as easy not to do. Things that wouldn't really seem to make any difference if you did them or didn't do them. Things that if you did them, nobody would even notice. Things that were, in a word, mundane. If you'd asked anyone observing the situation right after the merger, what was likely to happen, here's what they would have said. Sure, they're different, but give it a little time. Before long, the new guys will adapt, learn how to fit in, and catch on to the way things are done here. And that would have been a very reasonable prediction. The old guard controlled all the meetings and all the training. In essence, they controlled everything about how the business ran. But that wasn't what happened, because while our group was 4 times smaller than the other group, and we had no control over the company-wide trainings or meetings, and we had no experience with the product line, and we were complete newcomers, we had nothing, or we had something they didn't have. We had our simply daily disciplines, our 10 core commitments. Within 5 years, the numbers had flip-flopped. Now 80% of the company's sales force had adopted those simple daily disciplines as they watched the inexperienced underdogs having success by putting them into action. During that same period, as its sales force realized the power of those repeated daily actions, the company grew from about 70 million in annual sales to over 400 million in annual sales. It didn't double, it didn't triple, it more than quintupled. All right, we're just going to finish up chapter 4. Personal stories from the Slight Edge readers. My daughter had health complications a few years back, which left her on 6 or 7 different medications that created severe weight gain. After reading The Slight Edge, I suggested that she ride her stationary bike every day to help her drop some of that excess weight. At first, she could only do 3 minutes, which seemed like so little that it would hardly have made any difference whether she did it or not. But she kept doing it, and soon 3 minutes became 5, then 8, and over time she progressed to the point where she could do 15 to 20 minutes on that bike. A full year after she started, my daughter suddenly lost 25 pounds, or at least it seemed like it was all of a sudden, but it wasn't sudden at all. It was the power of the Slight Edge, just 15 minutes a day. I was in my 2nd week of a new workout program when I started reading The Slight Edge. Up till then, I had been inconsistent in my workout routines and had never stuck with any one program for more than a couple of weeks. They bored me. One night, soon after starting to read the book, I went to bed late and told myself that I'd just skip my workout the next morning. Then suddenly a thought went through my head. that it's the easy choices I make every day that create the difference in my success. With that thought, I got up and worked out the next morning and every morning after that. I'm now in the 6th week, and instead of being bored by my morning workouts, I'm loving them. I actually look forward to them. I'd never gotten this far before, and it is truly amazing how different I feel. Essential points from chapter 4. Only 5%, which is 1 in 20, achieve the level of success and fulfillment they hope for. The other 95% either fail or fall short. The only difference is the slight edge. The secret to the 5% success is always in mundane, easy things that anyone could do. And people don't consistently do those simple things for 3 reasons. 1, while they're easy to do, they are also easy not to do. 2, you don't see any results at first. And 3, they seem insignificant, like they don't matter, but they do. All right, we'll stop there.